or you can call me Kat. Today we will talk about sophists. So, who are sophists? Roll it!
Now, the key to making money in a situation like this is to position yourself now before the settlement. Because by the time you read about it in the Wall Street Journal, it's already too late. And you wait. You wait. And whoever speaks first loses.
Well, kinda. But today we'll be talking about the sophists from the ancient Greece. Yes, those are the right ones. Sophists is a group of people from Athens who believed that there was no objective truth. So they taught people the art of persuasion in order to be successful in politics and business. So where does the word sophist come from? Soph comes from the word Sophia, which means wise. There are many other words that are derived from this. So you may guess that the sophists are the people who are wise and also interested in acquiring more wisdom. You are heading in the right direction. In reality, these philosophers charge other people to teach them how to persuade other people, regardless if that thing is wrong or not. So, do you think that is wrong? They believe that there was no objective truth, since each observer perceives the world in many different ways. In other words, everyone has different beliefs, and those beliefs influence how people observe the world. So if there isn't any truth, why not just make up your own? The historical record shows us that they appeared in Athens sometime in the 400 BC. These were teachers who traveled around and got paid for their teachings. This sounds obvious to us. However, some philosophers condemn this practice since they believe knowledge should be accessible to everyone. But we'll talk about this later. But first, let's dive into the worldview of sophists. Take the number 9 and the number 6. From a point of view, this number might be a 6. From the opposite end, it might look like a 9. Without further context, it is impossible to say what the number actually is. Think about the controversy over Yanny or Laurel, or recall this stress. Is it black and blue, or is it gold and white? And by the way, I see gold and white, and hear Yanny. You are the best. Sophists reason that if there isn't any objective truth, we should just focus on what is beneficial to us. And so, they charge to teach people how to present arguments and favorable evidence in order to accomplish whatever goals they had. For example, if you want to run for office, you may want to tell people how much you care about the future of your country and making things better for everyone. You will highlight how horrible the country will be if your opponent wins. Since Athens had just become a democracy around that time, it was very important to learn rhetoric, how to be persuasive, ethos. The speaker must show that he is trustworthy. Logos. The speaker must present a logical argument with convincing evidence. And pathos. The argument must appeal to the listeners on an emotional level. In order to persuade their audience, they told people what to believe instead of making them wonder about the objective nature of reality. According to a professor from Queen's Community College, the sophists were very good speakers. They had reputation for being able to convince a crowd that up was down, that day was night, that the wrong answer could be the right answer, that good was bad and bad is good, even that injustice is justice and justice would be made to appear as injustice. The philosophers who came after them criticized them harshly for having no concerns for objective truth and charging for their misleading teachings. In the case of justice, this is very concerning to any citizen of any country. If someone is accused of a crime and could face terrible consequences, it would be a tragedy for any lawyer to be a sophist, since there would be no concern for justice. Rather, the focus would be on how much money they can make. Therefore, the justice system would not provide justice, and no one will feel safe. Now, a little fun fact about me. Recently, I was just studying for the GRE test and came across the word sophistry. At first, I thought it had a positive meaning. The only other word that was familiar to me was the word sophisticated. However, sophistry actually means this. Usually, I memorize something by associating it with something else that is familiar to me. But for this one, I just had to hammer it into my brain. However, thanks to doing this research on sophism, I now have something to strengthen my memory of the word sophistry. For those of you who are interested in learning more about sophists, I have some bad news. They actually did not write down any books unlike other philosophers. All we know about them comes from the later philosophers who criticized them. So maybe that's even a little bias. But the good news is, today, there are many modern sophists that you can look into and learn from.